Yo guys, how's it going? It's me, Arctic. Today's video we're going to be going over a weapon tier list, I feel like, for Raiden Shogun in general. Now, this is going to focus on mainly the DPS build, which is going to be focused on getting the most out of like your overall damage in terms of actual usability on the character. And so yeah, we're going to be going over that. And I'm only going to be covering the current weapons in the game, however I am going to talk about the new upcoming weapons into the game and how viable those will be and what kind of tier they will stack up in. But this is just going to be a current weapons in the game right now, so you either have a backup if you are still planning to pull for Grasscutters and might not get it. Yeah, so basically we're just going to talk about which are the best backup weapons beyond her main weapons. All the spears. I gotta get all these spears moved up here. Oh my gosh. But if you guys are new to the channel, remember to subscribe. I'm trying to get to 3.5k subscribers. I do plenty of these build guides and this type of stuff, this type of content, if you guys are interested in more of that. And also feel free to follow me on Twitch, Arctic_Hakyoku. And yeah, you'll basically find me there. And I have been doing dual streams between YouTube and Twitch, so fear not, I am on both platforms. But anyway, let's get back to the tier list. Okay guys, so how we're going to do this tier list is it's going to be based on a rating upon which tier it's going to fit best into in terms of just overall usability on Baal. This doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be the best for specific builds. There are some weapons that will become A or S tier in specific builds, and there's some weapons that'll become C or D tier in specific builds versus others. This weapon we're going to talk about is going to be Crescent Pike right here. And now Crescent Pike is overall a pretty good weapon because you get that extra damage instance based on whenever you pick up like elemental particles, which does factor pretty decently in with one of Baal's passives that gives her resolve stacks based on her elemental energy particles that she picks up every 3 seconds. And yeah, so this weapon does have some pretty decent value with overall kind of synergy with her team and that kind of build. And this will also boost your damage outside of your actual ults, basically, so you will have physical damage auto attacks. And so this weapon I feel like actually could end up being pretty decent compared to some other options. So I think we can put this at a B tier just because it isn't very specifically good on Baal. However, it is kind of generally good on Baal just because of its base attack is very high, and also you are getting an extra damage instance even if you are in like your ult. The weapon we're going to be talking about is the Dragon Spear. Now this one, it does give you like EM as a substat. It does boost your damage against like enemies affected by Hydro or Pyro, if I remember correctly. And so this one really can work specifically well in a electrocharged team comp with Baal. And like for example like a Xingshu, I think this weapon could really stand out doing something like that. It's also going to infect your like auto attacks even if they are physical damage. If they are affected by like, let's say a Hydro, you know, it could work pretty decently well, boosting out your electrocharge damage. However, I think I'm going to put this on the C tier just because it's not really particularly good on overall build on Baal, just because it has a very low base attack and you're not going to get the most damage off of this regardless. It's very, very specific. The next weapon is going to be Blackcliff Polearm. Now Blackcliff Polearm is one of the best free-to-play spears in the game. All you have to do to get this one is wait for the shop to reset and get enough Star Glitter to get it, which you can get practically from just saving up your Star Glitter and not using it on like wishes, that kind of stuff. And so I would definitely recommend saving up for one of these. And so Blackcliff really is one of the better options because it comes with crit damage as its main stat, and also its passive does give you attack percent based on defeating enemies. So this weapon is honestly really, really good for main DPS Baal because you are going to be defeating enemies. Also, since her burst damage is going to be really high, you're pretty much going to kill lower tier enemies regardless if you are using her burst near them. So you're pretty much going to be able to get 3 stacks of this pretty easily. I use this with my Zhongli actually, and it's actually pretty nice because you use his burst, you kill some enemies, and then what you do is you wait for his burst to reset, and then you pretty much still have these stacks and you just get more burst damage, and it works very nicely. So I would put this weapon at a solid A tier. Deathmatch is the next spear we're going to look at. Now this one isn't a free-to-play weapon, however it is the Battle Pass weapon, so it is relatively easy to get one of these. This does give you a lot of crit rate, which is nice if you are using a more crit damage focused build. You can get a lot of damage off of this. However, it does have a low base attack, so you've got to be careful about the amount of attack percent you're stacking on Baal. You really do need attack percent to maximize your build. But this one will basically take care of all of your crit rate needs. It goes like 36% crit rate, so I feel like that's really nice. And its passive does give you a little bit of defense and also attack based on how many enemies you're near. So I feel like this weapon can kind of specifically be good if you do have tons of crit damage rolls on your artifacts, and also plenty of attack percent from either like artifacts, that kind of stuff. This weapon can be pretty good. However, like, it really is outclassed by Blackcliff Spear in every way. Even if you do use like a crit rate hat, something like that, I feel like this weapon just gets outclassed. So I'm going to put this in B tier, just in because of how Baal really kind of needs a bunch of attack and also a well-rounded build to get the most out of her stuff. The Lithic Spirit is the next option that we're going to be looking at. This one basically gives you a attack and crit rate boost for all the leeway members in your party. Now this one can be pretty decent if you are using a bunch of leeway characters beyond Baal, but Baal isn't going to count as a leeway character, so this weapon automatically becomes less good on her just in terms of having it specifically in the team. This does have a high base attack and it comes with an attack substat. But like attack, in terms of where I've done damage testing between like Zhao and also, yeah, like between Zhao using a Blackcliff polearm and a Lithic Spear, Lithic Spear gives me less damage overall. However, it does balance out my build in terms of attack. So like I would only really recommend using this weapon if you have a bunch of leeway supports and you are going to have like barely any attack percent artifacts with Baal because you're prioritizing like energy recharge or something like that. So I would leave this in B tier just because it's not as good as Blackcliff Spear. The Dragon Spine Spear, this one is honestly kind of weird because its base attack's really low. It's not as good as Crescent Spear. It's not as good as Crescent Pike is, and its passive isn't really going to help you out because you're not applying cryo anyway. So this one is a solid D tier. Prototype Star Glitter is going to be pretty interesting because there is actually a new weapon that's coming out that is going to be better than this one in my opinion. However, it's not bad to have one of these as like a free-to-play secondary option. We still don't know if that new spear, it's going to be a 4-star spear, we still don't know if that's going to be an event weapon, but it's basically the same as Festering Desire, so we're going to be looking at that as if it was Festering Desire. But yeah, instead of boosting elemental skill damage with that new one, it boosts like burst damage as far as I know and burst crit rate. So that one, it could end up being pretty good over a Star Glitter. However, Star Glitter isn't that bad either because it does boost your normal and auto attack damage whenever you cast your elemental skill, and that happens every 12 seconds. So as far as I know, basically that 12-second countdown resets whenever you cast your skill again, I'm pretty sure. And so it's possible to get 2 of these stacks, so you can get like 20% auto attack damage, which could be pretty interesting, and you are getting electro damage percent with Baal's passive based on the energy recharge on this. So I'd say this is a B tier. However, the new spear, I would honestly put it as A tier because it does give you a lot of burst damage and it will be very good overall on Baal. The Fevonius Spear, I think this one is going to be pretty underrated actually on Baal because it's going to be pretty good on general on her build. It does give you energy recharge up to 30% on its substat, and its main base attack is a 565 base attack. So this won't be that bad if you are going to use this over something like a Prototype Star Glitter. This will prioritize more of like your burst damage versus auto attack damage like Star Glitter does. And so I still think this is going to be a B tier weapon. However, I think it might end up actually being a little bit better than Star Glitter or Lithic Spear. But I don't think it's quite on par with like Deathmatch or Crescent Pike. I still think these ones are a little bit better in general. The next spear we've got is the Royal Spear. This is also a shop weapon. Now this one might actually be pretty underrated on Baal actually, because basically if you are running her where you're wanting to crit, you can, and if you don't end up getting like one of the ER percent weapons and you're going like an ER percent build, this one might actually be pretty good because you can stack crit damage again. This will honestly be pretty on par to like a deathmatch, I feel like, in terms of how often you're critting, how much like crit chance you're going to get from this. And if you have this at higher refinements, it'll just become even better. However, I would recommend going Blackcliff over this any day of the week. You're just going to get more damage. This does come with attack percent and a high base attack, so it's pretty usable. I would honestly say this is on par with Lithic Spear, except that like Lithic Spirit is a little bit better than it if you are using that. And I still think that Prototype Star Glitter is going to be a better choice overall than Royal Spear. We finally get on to the 5 stars. When it comes to 5 stars, you have to generally build around them or build around like whatever team comp you're doing. So the first spear we're going to be looking at is going to be the Vortex Vanquisher. This one is only really usable if you are using like a shield support. This one takes care of all of your attack percent needs pretty much, as long as you're inside of a shield. So this one is actually pretty underrated. You can end up stacking like crit rate, crit damage, that kind of stuff versus attack percent from your artifacts. And you might actually end up being able to run like an ER percent timepiece from this actually, because you are getting most of your attack percent from this weapon right here, and attack generally doesn't gain too much more once you get above a certain amount. And so this weapon I feel like is a solid A tier, but you do have to build around it. I don't think it's quite as good overall as Blackcliff Spear on here. However, I think it is a little bit better than the new event weapon, just because of its base attack and base stats you're gonna get from this. And like using a shield support like Zhongli could be pretty good, or using even a Diona could be pretty decent as well. Jade Spear kind of falls into the same category, where you are getting a lot of base attack and also attack percent from this weapon's passive, and it's also going to give you a damage bonus if you get to the maximum damage stacks. And yeah, so this weapon honestly is going to be probably the 3rd best option, I would say, for Baal. It does give you a crit rate, which is going to be nice for boosting out your damage if you are running crit damage on your substats. You still can get like energy recharge with this build, and it would be very good on Baal regardless. However, you're not prioritizing energy recharge with most of the other 5 stars except Skyward Spine and also the Grasscutters. I would put this one up with S tier because you can get a little bit more damage than if you are using a R1 Blackcliff Spear, and so that's where this is going to fall in. Staff of Homa is going to be very good. It's basically literally just a little bit better Blackcliff Spear. I think this one's probably going to be, honestly, I'm going to put this one on A tier just because of how you would generally build around this. You would still need crit rate on your Baal to actually be able to get a lot of its damage percent, but like it really is a good spear. However, like and so I guess I'll put it in S tier right here. I don't think it's quite as good as the Jade Spear in terms of general build usability on Baal. However, you would be able to get more damage, so yeah, that's going to be a pretty good option right there. So I will actually put that above Jade Spear, just for the fact that crit damage is such a good substat if you don't end up getting like Grasscutters. And now the last spear that we have in game is the Skyward Spine. Now this one is basically going to give you some crit rate, which is going to be nice for your build. It gives you attack speed, which is also very nice, and it gives you these vacuum blades, which will increase like your auto attack DPS. So this weapon can be very good. It comes with an energy recharge substat, and so I feel like this one and Jade Spear are going to be kind of on par with each other. But I think Skyward Spine is going to be better just because of how you combine her ult damage, you know, with that kind of stuff. I would recommend going 4-piece emblem set with this weapon because you're going to get the most out of your energy recharge that way. And then last but not least, we are going to do a placeholder with the Grasscutters. And that placeholder is going to be, let's just say, yeah, let's just say that this is the placeholder for Grasscutters. Grasscutter is definitely by far the best weapon. You basically want to prioritize like energy recharge, but then other stats are pretty decent still. You still are able to crit. You still are able to have a large amount of attack percent. It is a pretty good weapon overall, and so I think it's better than this. But anyway, if you guys did enjoy the video, remember to like and subscribe. And also, if you guys did like this tier list video more so, yeah, feel free to leave a comment or watch the video or something like that. Also, I do have other videos beyond this that cover Baal and all of her like artifacts, weapon choices, that kind of stuff, and more specifically, and also stats and constellations. So if you guys are interested in that, make sure to watch those. But anyway, it's been me, Arctic. I will see you guys next time. Farewell.